Hey guys, I'm back. Hopefully you guys watched the videos from last week. Hopefully you have made the decision, the wise decision, to follow so that you see these when I post them, and to smash a like because it makes me feel good about myself. You don't have to, no pressure, but it makes me feel like I'm actually doing something. Feel free to comment below. Um, this video is on observing the Lord's Day. So, when I left you guys on Friday, we were talking about the transition from Sabbath worship into celebration of the Eucharist on Sundays and all that stuff that goes historically into it. Um, Today, we're really just going to talk about why we as Christians, we as Catholics in particular, observe the Lord's Day and what we're called to do in terms of our observance of the Lord's Day. So, in your reading on pages um, 149 to 152, sorry, I had to look that up. It essentially breaks down like this. Um, the church, right, in her maternal care for the faithful, makes attendance at Sunday Mass obligatory. Why? Right? That's why do I have to go to Mass on Sundays? Well, right now we don't have to because we have been dispensed, right? Bishop Schlert, most of the bishops in the United States and actually most of the world have given us what's known as a dispensation, right? So we are not obligated. It's not normal circumstances, right? Under normal circumstances, we are obligated to go to Mass. It is one of what we call the foundations or tenets of the church rules. Um, and the reason is very simple. And there's more reasons than this, but this is the main one. The spiritual benefits for those who participate, right? The same is true for holy days of obligation, right? Those we're obligated to go to. Those, as we've learned, commemorate special events in the life of Christ, in the life of the Blessed Mother, in the mysteries of the faith, right? All these tie back to the third commandment. So the third commandment tells us that we're called to keep holy the Lord's Day. It is one of those positive commandments, right? So we've had some as we go throughout the Ten Commandments, there are positive and negative commandments, and they don't speak to them being bad or good. They speak to them telling us to not do something in the case of negative, or to do something in the case of positives. So this one, keep holy the Lord's Day, is a positive. It's telling us something that we should do. So when we look at the third commandment, it really has two values that it underscores, right? It's teaching us to value rest and relaxation, right? If we go back to the book of Genesis, right, it tells us the story of creation in kind of two different ways. That's neither here nor there, but it does give us two different kind of understandings of how to look at the story of creation. And in the story, in the story, the second story of creation, it tells us how God rested on the seventh day. Now, knowing what we kind of, the limited human understanding of what we know about God, does God need to rest? And of course, we know the answer to that is no. So why does God rest on the seventh day? Since he's all knowing, all powerful, and everywhere, like he is being itself, why is he resting on that seventh day? And the answer is he's showing the importance of rest for us, right? And it might not seem kind of realistic now because you've probably been at home, and I would say most of you guys have been doing a lot of work. But for those of you that haven't, the grind of school is still kind of a grind, right? Hopefully you're taking your weekends off and being able to rest and relax because you need that, right? You need that time. And this is going to sound strange because you've probably spent the last 6 weeks with them, but you need that time to build up your family, to build up yourself, to grow. Because the reality is work, and for you guys as students, that is your work, right? Is not what we're made for, right? I've said this to you guys a bunch of times. We are built for relationship, right? We're built for relationship with God. We're built for relationship with each other. And the work that we do is part of that, right? But for a lot of us, it becomes all that we are. And that's not healthy and that's not good. One of the reasons that God gives us this third commandment is to remind us of the importance of resting every once in a while, relaxing once in a while, right? And the other value, besides rest and relaxation, the importance of it, is the necessity of worship of God in our lives, right? So rest in order to facilitate worship of God so that we can be clear-minded, clear-headed, and clear-eyed in our worship, our love, our adoration of God. So that's what this section is about, right? And it asks 4 questions, right? The first one, why is attendance at Sunday Mass obligatory? The second, that was the first, sorry. The second, what are holy days of obligation? The third, what is the consequence of refusing to attend Mass when it is required? And number 4, why does the church want us to rest on Sunday? Okay, so let's hit these in order. Why is attendance at Sunday Mass obligatory? And the answer, again, if we look at the church, in her maternal care for the faithful, she requires attendance at Sunday Mass because of the tremendous spiritual benefits for those who participate. We know, we've talked about the importance of the Eucharist. Even when we're not able to receive the Eucharist, attendance at Mass is important, right? Builds up relationship with the Christian community, right? Builds up your prayer life. Even if you're not able to participate in the Eucharist, you can and should be praying, right? So there's a lot of benefits that come from it. You're able to rest and relax, right? You're able to focus in on that which is most important, relationship with God, relationship with the people around you, okay? So tremendous spiritual benefits. Second question, what are holy days of obligation? You guys know this. We've already talked about them. They are those days that commemorate important events in the life of Christ. So, for example, Christmas Day, right? In the life of the Blessed Mother, her Annunciation, her Assumption into heaven, important mysteries of the faith, okay? The third question, what is the consequence of refusing to attend Mass when it is required? So you are violating the third commandment. What do you think that's going to be? Is it grave? Is it an act of the will? Is it serious, right? Serious, grave. And do you freely choose it? These all sound like they are components to mortal sin. And freely choosing to not go to Mass on Sunday when you can go and are required to do so is, in no uncertain terms, a mortal sin and something you need to confess, right? So freely and knowingly failing to fulfill your obligation to go to Mass is a mortal sin. Now, if you have a serious reason, like going would spread COVID-19 to people, like that's a legitimate reason not to go, right? Like you're a parent and one of you has to stay home with your kid who's really, really sick, right? That's a legitimate reason not to go. So there are exceptions, serious exceptions, but in most circumstances, when you can go and it's obligatory that you do go, you need to go. Otherwise, it's a mortal sin. The fourth question, why does the church want us to rest on Sunday? There's a bunch of reasons. To replenish lost energies throughout the week, make time for enriching human activities that build up relationship with people around you, but most importantly, to facilitate the worship of God. Okay. Let's see, is there anything else? Sorry, I'm just looking through the book to see if there's anything else that kind of is important for this one. I think we're good. Now, if you have any questions between now and Tuesday when you take your quiz, please feel free to ask tomorrow morning. I'm filming this at Sunday night. during class, the Zoom class, or anytime during the day Monday. Or you can certainly email me, set up a Zoom, or just email me with questions between now and Tuesday when you take the quiz. I love you guys. I miss you guys. I'm so happy that I'm at least able to do this for you. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Auf Wiedersehen.